Yo, what is good? My anime faithful. What is good, yo? Guys, I don't know how I feel about this show truly yet, or any of these shows, to be fair, that I've talked about that just came out. I mean, I did enjoy some of them, while others I feel like have just more potential to show up and do things later on in their episodes, and we'll see how many episodes we're actually getting of these shows relatively soon here. But with this week's episode, or with this week's new show as well, um, can we just say that Go seem pretty yokai and Go seem relatively popular for whatever reason. So I'm trying to get behind it. um, but this week's episode gives us a world of very weird consequences and very weird overall happenings, you can say, I guess, where all of a sudden you are kidnapped by these apparitions that aren't dangerous, supposedly. Maybe they just aren't dangerous to this girl that we know, or the main girl that's 17 in this show, which is different, but at the same time, the way she talks about them makes them seem like they aren't that dangerous, right? So, why is it that people are coming up missing or coming up dead, or that they're even kidnapping people? Stuff like that uh, definitely is red flags, but at the same time, that's not even the worst thing they did to this girl, seemingly. So, when we first hear about her, she's very interested about the guy who is, I guess, her love interest that she kind of, that she was just like spotted. He was about to fall because some kids ran in front of him, so he fell backwards. She ran up, caught him, and she fell in love with him at love at first sight. To come to find out, the reason why he's at the hospital is, for his cousin, and he thought that, or she thought she met the cousin already, but it turned out that the person she met was his girlfriend. And after stalking and, staying around the hospital and learning from the nurses more about this guy, she learned when her chance was available, right? Like, she learned when he was all of a sudden single, and I'm dead. Um, and once she knew that, that's when she actually made her approach. That's when she actually is in this, makes this week's episode, talking to him and going out of her way to actually tell him all of the things she's kind of been through to win her to his side. But the thing that really stood out to her is how supposedly all of a sudden he became single, and why he didn't just tell her, like the true actual meaning behind becoming single. So once he does tell her, like, this fabricated story, supposedly, because as of right now, we didn't really get to see anything remotely true. Like, whatever he told us and said at the beginning, he told us that he didn't lie. He said he lied about it. So it's like, do we take his word for it? Do we not take his word for it? What do we do there? And then you have the other notion of him pretty much having this, strange suspicion about her that she isn't who she is, which that's where this whole, after we find out, what she's looking in forward to, she tells him everything to make him lower his guard, or at least believe that whatever he saw and whatever exists out there isn't, isn't something that's surprising to her, or isn't something that she won't believe, because clearly she's dealt with it as well. So it's one of those things where you're kind of just left wondering um, where their relationship's going to go at the end of the day, because not only do we see that she kind of is like a medium to be able to see these apparitions and stuff like that, but also the fact that we are only getting, you know, one episode a week. So there's only so much they're gonna tell us. But like I was saying, these apparitions had kidnapped her for a week or two, and that wasn't the worst thing they did. They also removed one of her eyes and one of her legs, and for some reason, this is like the startup of becoming their goddess or god. Losing limbs and a eyeball, I guess, is your way of, like she said in the hospital bed when she first came to, and the doctors already were trying to worried about her and trying to figure out how all this happened. Um, she said this was the trade-off was fair. Like she didn't mind what had happened to her to be having the capability to see these beings right in front of her, steering her coffee or stirring her tea or stirring her coffee, whatever the case may be of it. But it just goes to show you that she was very much accepting over something that did very bad things to her as a whole. So it just draws a narrative of why was that necessary? Why did it happen? And does it carry any greater purpose as a whole? Um, but yeah, that's kind of her whole gist that we get this week. She winds up losing a limb, doing things that most people won't understand, but then finding someone who believed it. We get to see now apparitions and different like spirits that she can see that would relatively scare the living crap out of anybody, but because she puts such a weird like emphasis on her, they're putting the emphasis on her being the princess or whatever, she automatically is in a position where all of these ghosts, all of these spirits that are capable of, not just being brutal, cruel, and all that stuff, they all see her as a princess. They all see her as the one to go to, which I thought was very intelligent for the show to do as a whole, because now we have an understanding of how the apparitions see her, and we also have an understanding of how the apparitions see the guy. They see him as this deadly, scary looking dude, and all she sees is this handsome man or handsome boy or whatever. He's a man now. He's in a university, university, and because of this, she's 17 and she's talking about joining him in whatever school he's at just so she can be close to him more, kind of giving the emphasis that she's the one that's chasing while he's the one that's just trying to maybe figure out what the heck has been going on around him. But then that's even hard to say that that's the case. Gee, I hate this character. Um, because if you think about it, the thing that we learn at the very end is that he has had encounters with these types of creatures, I guess maybe more than we would predict, and the case of like evil ones, not just the ones that took this girl and then made her, a goddess or whatever, but the ones that actually attack and bit off his arm, and just to come to find out that he is, and I quote, like poisonous. He's very, very ridiculously poisonous, which he said his flesh is poisonous. So does that mean if anyone touches his arms or legs, they get the contamination? Or is what we see is the yokai actually eat his arm and then die because of the poisonous stuff, which also he then just grows back his limbs. So as humans go, the girl who lost her leg and eye is probably more human than this guy actually is, which also, in my opinion, leads to some good storytelling at the end of the day. So, let me know if you guys are going to be watching this, if it's something you are going to pick up because you heard about the details, or if you watched it and it's not something for you, regardless of the fact. I would love to hear what you have to say, and I am your boy, the Anime G. And I will definitely be talking to you guys relatively later, or maybe with some more content today, seeing how a lot of shows dropped and I didn't watch all of them, but I have a good idea which ones I already am going to be talking about from now on. So, with all that being said, everybody, have an awesome one, and I will definitely talk to you soon. So, with that being said, peace.